This is The Controversy, a CampusGal exclusive.
Hello and welcome everybody to The Controversy. The Controversy is a CampusGal original show where no topic is off limits and nothing is too hot to handle for us. Each episode tackles a hot or controversial issue that impacts women in college today. In this fiery episode of The Controversy, we dive into the heated discussion or debate sparked by the phrase, "not all men." We're going to talk about what it is and ask the important question, does a defensive reaction like "not all men" help or hinder the conversations around women's safety? Today, I have with me Riddhi, who is also part of the CampusGal team. She is our visual storyteller in residence.
Whenever there's a topic about women's sexual violence or a sexual assault, and that's when the men feel that not all men are like this, not all men do a certain thing, and it's not right for a woman or anybody for that matter to tag everybody and say that men are like this. So that's when the discussion starts to begin of how the men feel that they are being targeted or they're being put into this group.
Right. It's like, hey, I'm one of the good ones. Please, don't put me in the group with them. But also for us, it's like, okay, but what do we do with that? Have you ever experienced a situation, and I'm sure you have, because that's the uncomfortable truth in India today. Most women have some or the other uncomfortable experience with men either making untoward advances, physically, verbally, or just making them feel uncomfortable in general. So is there something that comes to mind, or maybe the first time you experienced something like that?
I feel like almost every other woman has faced something like this. You might have, so have I. It's as simple as just walking on the road and people, just looking at you up and down. Or this happens especially in metros while you're traveling, which makes you feel uncomfortable. And at times, you tend to start feeling that, okay, all men are like this. This is how, the look of the men is. But it's also not right on our part to generalize and say all men are like this.
Absolutely, because it would just be an incorrect statement. You're married, I'm married. We love many of the guys in our life dearly and know that they would never ever do something like this. But at the same time, we're still really stressed. So to help us make sense of this confusion that I'm sure not you or me, but I'm sure many women and most of y'all watching us out there must be feeling this way. So to make sense of this, we thought we'd bring in some expert advice. And we sat down with Priya Vardarajan, who is the founder of Durga. It works towards improving bystander intervention outcomes in public spaces. And I think she's super, super qualified to tell us really, she must have seen this on a wide scale, not just individual stories, but how those individual stories kind of add up to become one big narrative, cultural phenomenon that is our responsibility as a society to tackle. So let's move into the conversation with Priya.
Thanks, Kavya. Thanks a lot for having me. And we're talking about women with economic opportunity and empowerment, etc., etc. But what is all of that if I can't be safe? How do I access any tools for empowerment if I just can't be safe? And I don't want protection here. I want to be safe. And I want to call that out as differently. I thought that, having a movement and having a very deliberate, intentional approach to building programs and interventions around gender justice, particularly for mobility in public spaces for women, girls, and everyone who feels vulnerable, is the need of the hour. Durga itself came into being more formally and structured post-Nirbhaya. So what we do at Durga is simply work towards gender justice for women, girls, and vulnerable people in public spaces. Women largely felt vulnerable, have experienced inappropriate behavior in public transport, BMTC buses. And what we did was came up with a low technology device called the panic alarm, the Durga alarm. Almost every time the alarm was raised, the perpetrator had to leave the bus because people actually collected together to take action. Women's safety, yes, is paramount, but a woman's safety is not a woman's problem. It's everybody's problem, right? And the problem can be addressed only when spaces become safe, and spaces will become safe only when today those who occupy these spaces are able to make these spaces safe. We do a lot of work with men to get men to become allies to all the others, because cis-het men have a lot of privilege. We work with women as well. So we don't provide tools, right? We just sort of build the awareness, knowledge, and the shift in behavior, which is basically to say that I don't even know what's happening around me, all the way across like a spectrum to say, clearly know what's happening around me, what someone's experiencing is violating their rights, it's unsolicited, and it's not correct. And therefore, I know what to do about it, and I will do something about it. So when people who have been historically marginalized start asking for their rights, people who have been, sort of easily accessing those rights start to feel threatened, right? And I'm not saying it's the right feeling, but I'm pointing it out as a fact. And therefore, working in this space, I feel men fear equality. Men hate reservations. Men hate equality. Men just don't get the concept of equity at all. And hence the conversation we were having about not all men, right? And I really want to spend a moment talking about why this, hashtag not all men is so annoying, because it's like an attitude of defense, right? Suddenly you're talking about an issue and then you're saying, oh my God, it's not me. I don't do it. Like, why are you getting into defense? Because it's not about you. I mean, you always made it about you, but it's not about you. Today, it's about us. It's about how we feel, right? And when we say, not all men, and men start to take so much of offense about it, then how are we supposed to have taken all of the hashtags about how women are bad at driving, women are bad at math, or all women take infinite time to get dressed? I mean, have you not historically just generalized and made sexist comments all your way, whether it's at home, whether it's in public spaces, whether it's in our workspaces? And one thing to say that, men take so much of offense about it. I'm like, what is it? Like, you can do the generalization, but we can't, or we can't even talk about our issue. And then it's not about all men rape or violate, right? But it's because we are scared of all men. Now, you're not coming with a label here to say, sorry, I am not the man who rapes. I don't know which man rapes. I don't know which man violates, but I know men rape and men violate. All men should do something positive if you want to run away from the fact and say not all men. One shouldn't start feeling bad very quickly for a small group of men who are suffering because of not women, but because of what other men do. It's important to understand who is making men feel uncomfortable. It's not women who are making men feel uncomfortable today. It's the actions of their predecessors. It's the actions of other men that's making them uncomfortable. So I don't want any woman to take away from this conversation that I should take an extra step to make a man uncomfortable. I mean, to make a man comfortable. Sorry, no. You please do whatever you want to do, because we are not making men uncomfortable. I think it's primarily important that one of the biggest learning lessons is to unlearn. So unlearn your patriarchal baggage that you carry. Second is just be unapologetically you, because you do things which matter to you a lot. So just be unapologetically you. 3 is show tremendous solidarity to others like you. 4th, don't hesitate to question inappropriate behavior. Consent is critical. It's the most beautiful thing that gives us power. 5th is don't ever let someone else take away our safety, right? Hold it on to us. Like let just be, in charge of what we want to do. And let it not be hanging very frivolously around the clothes I wear, or what time of the day I went somewhere, or who was I there with, right? It's all my decisions to take. It's not my clothes. It's not the company I keep. It's not the places I visit. It's not the alcohol I consume. It's all my decisions. So let's not put it on to let me wear decent, and I have no idea what decent means. Let me wear decent clothes, and then I wouldn't get violated. These are some of the various things that I think as women we should just unlearn learn and relearn and just be around with each other.